I've actually been following you for a while.
Cool.
Your music is pretty dope. I did an article on my blog. I run bboytechreport. I did an article. It's called Tokimonsta Just Because. It's not like you had new product out at that time. It's just, you know, I dig your stuff, so I wrote a little article about it. And when I notice in my stats, always comes up people looking for what gear Tokimonsta uses, if you have drum beats or drum kits and stuff. But we'll get to that. I'm just going to go through the questions I got here. So for those that may not know, why don't you tell us a little bit about who Tokimonsta is?
Tokimonsta, so I'm just a music producer / like performer DJ.
Right. Cool, that works. Being a female beat maker, musician, do you find that there's any obstacles you have to get around or anything like that?
I get asked this question a lot. In the beginning, I felt like there wasn't really as many problems for me. I mean, everyone in LA, and all the producers in LA are really supportive. So, you know, as long as I was making music of quality, then no one was going to hate on me just because I was a girl, you know?
Right.
You know? They would just judge the music, not the rest. But, you know, the more my music has sort of spread into, like, you know, spread throughout the world or the internet or whatever, then I'm starting to notice more criticism regarding, you know, being a female. But it's so trivial, just like, oh, you know, like you know, YouTube.
Yeah. Well, everybody's crazy on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Half the people are gonna love you, and the other half are gonna hate you, and it may go back and forth, and may change a little bit, right?
It's pretty. I mean, it's like that, but I mean, overall, I don't feel it's too much. Sometimes I might notice a little bit of criticism, but it's really not a big deal. I mean, I've learned to just be like, whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is. You make what you like, right?
Yeah.
What's your creative workflow process like when you're starting to make beats and stuff? How's that work for you?
You know, I try not to have too much of a process. I always approach a beat like differently each time. I think if I create too much of a process, you know, the music would become too formulaic.
Yeah,
you know, like if I create a formula for the music is going to sound like a formula.
Right.
So sometimes I might start with the drums. Sometimes I might start with keys. Sometimes like I've gotten back into just sort of dabbling and sampling again.
Nice.
It's different ways to exercise your creativity too, because if you start different ways, then different ideas start to form.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I've been making beats for years too, so I understand that.
Yeah,
totally.
exactly.
Sometimes people will say, you know, I mostly create with synths, so I mostly only do samples. But I found whatever comes, whatever happens, whatever I get into, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want to make something more percussive. You might start with the drums first, and then add in synths just to build around a more like a beat with a lot of different percussion or drums or like a cool rhythm to it.
Right.
Sometimes you want something more like vibey or synthy. You might start with that first and then have the drums accent the synths, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. So are you a classically trained musician?
Yeah, classically trained, but I was like never a really good student.
Really?
What's that mean? Like, never
really
hey.
Right, okay, so the rehearsal part was
I mean, I never really practiced. My practice time was when I was getting the lessons, which is not the point. You're supposed to learn during the lessons and practice on your own time.
I got my daughter piano lessons because she was all into it. She would come in my studio, play with my synths and stuff, and I said, even though I've never had lessons, I'm like, you want lessons? We'll get them. And she went there, 3 or 4 lessons in, and she's like, this is too much work. I'm not Alicia Keys yet. You know, what the hell? You know, so it's like, I'm done spending my money. You could go in the studio and toy around. And she likes that better. So.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes even classically training your kid isn't the way now. Maybe sometimes teaching them just how to learn like more like chord progression, stuff like that they can use just to create their own music. So even for me, when I was getting my piano lessons, I didn't like half the stuff I was playing, and classically learning an instrument is more like memorization and technique. There's no creativity involved. How can you creatively impact a song that's already written? You know? It's just how accurately you can play it to the specifications of the song. So, I mean, I'd always end up just playing like 1 page of this one piece that's like 6 pages long, because that's the only piece I like to play. You know, that one section, and it's like classical sampling. You know, just playing that over and over.
Do you find that you draw from that when you're creating your music? Draw from the things that you've learned?
Yeah, no, definitely.
In those actual settings?
I mean, even though I didn't like it at the time. In hindsight, it was really useful for me because it really helped me understand melody creation and how to balance things out with each other too. Like, you know, being in like an orchestra or like being in like school band, you learn how the saxophone complements the clarinet and the flute, and how the timpani helps and all this stuff. It really helps you learn like no element should really overcome each other, you know.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, who do you listen to? The people, the music that you enjoy. What do you listen to?
I mean, there's so much new music. So like whenever I want new music, I'm basically just on SoundCloud. You know, you just this person's friends with this person. And you discover such good music that way. But as far as like when I have free time, or if I want to put on I'll put on some old record I have, or I still really like listening to like sort of the '90s era like trip hop stuff. So like old DJ Shadow, or I'll play like the early instrumental hip hop stuff. Like if you listen to, or just like or like Welcome to Detroit by Jay Dilla, or like DJ.
I play that to death. I don't know if I played. Well, the question's for you.
Exactly. I mean, you know, that's the thing though. Like, sometimes listening to new music isn't always what it's about. Like, drawing back from the past, like, is really inspiring to create new sounds too. So,
so who inspires you?
I guess all the people that I just said, like the people I listen to. I always think that my music is heavily influenced by like that '90s instrumental hip hop, and then like more electronic music and stuff.
Dope. Is there any one particular thing that you've accomplished in your music career that you're really proud of?
Not yet, I don't think. No, I mean, I think I've accomplished some things I'm really proud of. Just, I mean, being able to do this is basically the accomplishment. But I mean, I think I'm still striving for that like pinnacle moment, and that's. I almost hope I never really reach some like pivotal moment like that, because I always want to keep reaching for it. So I keep, you know, like hustling and making music and
stay hungry.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to what I said in the beginning, I noticed when I look at my stacks, a lot of people hit up that article that I wrote about you. I kind of piggybacked a little bit on, I think you were in DJ Times and you talked about some of your gear, and I quoted something from that, and I can't really remember exactly what kind of gear it was.
I don't remember
but people
what I
are
said.
always coming, and they're, like I noticed there's a huge search term, Tokimonsta studio gear. So what's your studio gear list looking like?
Let's see. The funnest thing that I got recently, which is coincidentally because we're at Moogfest, is the Moog Sub Fatty.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, for analog synths too, they're super punchy, so they come through the mix a lot. So, I mean, the biggest thing is it has this like really low fat sub synth or sub bass.
Yeah.
That's been cool.
So we'll hear a lot of sub fatty on your newer stuff.
I mean, like yes and no.
Incorporated, right?
Half the time I just like playing with it, and when I mix it down, you won't be able to really hear it as much. But it's fun to play with. The thing I always use the most is the Micropork XL. It's just the easiest thing. I always have it plugged in. It's always on my lap. It weighs like 8 pounds or like 5 pounds.
Right.
I literally just like hold it with a hand, like put it to the side, bring it back, put it on my lap, switch it to MIDI or switch it to audio if I want to like record the sounds in it. I have RME UFX. That's the interface that I use, which is it's great, very low latency. It sounds really good.
Yeah, it's got really high quality converters.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, I have, I don't know. I mean, it's so basic. I mean, the things that I use a lot are, I use a lot of VSTs, but I use a lot of instruments. So I have like an AKG C414. I don't know. I think that's it.
Right.
So that's the mic I use the most for vocals and for miking instruments.
Okay.
I use my Rhodes a lot.
Nice. You have a Rhodes. What kind of Rhodes do you have?
It's the Fender, the 73. Like really old one.
Yeah, I just recently bought an MK1 that was built in like 73. 71, 72, and I'm restoring it. That's like a huge project for me, but I haven't gotten it.
It's really doable though. They have like kits online. I mean, I haven't done it, but
but it is doable. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, you can just replace the hammers and stuff. There's, you know, you can't really do that with a real piano quite as easily, but with the Moog, the Rhodes, you can really do that, and it sounds great no matter what.
Yeah,
you know?
That's cool to hear that you're into that. I recently interviewed. I don't know if you heard about this book called Down the Roads. It's these guys that are like Rhodes aficionados. They interviewed everybody through history that's ever. I mean, from George Duke. I mean, everybody, all of these people, and they wrote a book and they did a documentary. And I've become really cool with those guys, and I think something that's really cool is they don't know just how many people that and maybe our age groups and you know more contemporary artists that are using Rhodes and stuff and kind of related to hip hop and trip hop and all those different things.
Exactly. I mean, the sound is just like infamous. Even if people aren't using the Rhodes, all they're doing is using synths that sound like the Nord. Like they'll use like a Rhodes sound on a Nord.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's only showing how valuable that sound is. And for me, by Rhodes, it's not like I can't get that sound from other synths or whatever, but it means a lot to have that instrument to me because it's one of the beautifulest, or most, making up words.
No,
okay, the
Keith Murray said it, why not? The most beautifulest thing. It's all good. But I think it though,
Yeah, you know, it's it means I think if I were to categorize all my music into one instrument, or if I could only use one instrument to make beats, like if I could have like a drum kit and something, it would be the Rhodes, and then I think it could be cool. Okay. You know.
And so, how do you translate all of this stuff? It sounds like you're kind of a minimalist with gear, though, which is kind of cool because you make some of the greatest music, and it doesn't take to have like full rooms full of stuff. I've noticed now that we're so many of us are so gear crazed, feature crazed.
I mean, I think we are. I mean, I am at the same time too, but because I produce out of my house, I feel like, do I need to have another synth? Because I mean, the main three synths I have is a little fatty, a sub fatty, and the microcorder. So that's basically it. And then the Rhodes, I have a lot of little percussive things that I mic a lot too. But yeah, I mean, as long as you have good monitors, a good sound card, a good computer, then essentially, you know, people are making great music with no instruments, just a MIDI controller and VSTs, you know. And if you know how to treat those plugins, I mean, I'm always like I like plugins that I don't because they sound super thin. And then you can work so much, you can create so many more ideas quicker, and you can keep editing. So I like both. So as long as you know how to treat those VSTs in a way where you can make them sound a little bit more like an instrument. In which the way I do that is by mixing it with real instruments and real samples and things that'll make everything sound a little thicker.
That's you say you mic a lot of little percussive.
Just like random like crap. Like I'll take either my mic or have like a Roland. What are those things called? Like an Adderall recorder, and I'll just go out and record stuff. It has a really good condenser mic on it, so I have little things like that. You know?
Because I noticed one of the things when I first got up on your music, I remember thinking like, good grief, this girl is knocking walls down with these drums, like the sub kicks, and it'd be so muffled and like knocking and stuff. So I figure you spend a lot of time just like tweaking the sounds to get a certain sound.
I mean, half the time it's just like really good compression. I haven't done this lately, but what I used to do is run it through an SP404, record in there, and record the drums back out. So when you have that sort of layer of like, using maybe a drum kit, recording it in there, and recording it back out with the compression in the 404. You know, the 404 is like this little dirty, fantastic machine. It makes everything sound kind of like distorted, compressed, and pretty fat and different than like an MPC would. So then I've kind of created like all these kicks that I've recorded out of there. At this point, I just create drums that way. But having that is one way to keep things sounding like thick. I'm really into just texture. So to create texture, you just can't have like only like a computer-based software.
No doubt. No doubt. I dig it. So how do you translate that to live shows? So like from your gear from the studio to live shows, is it?
I use audio stems, so I'm using Ableton. It's funny if, I mean, I guess I can't say people can't call me a DJ, but in reality, I don't use I'm not even really good with turntables, I gotta be honest. I'm good with Ableton, because Ableton helps me create a live set that's more like producing music.
Right, right.
Because I never started off as a DJ, I started off just making music. You know, so when I play live, it's Ableton, stems, bringing them in and out, finding really clever ways to engage with the crowd, mixing my music with other music, or music that new music from other people that I want to like shine. So it's this kind of weird new marriage now. It's kind of like a live set. There are parts of it that can be DJing as I'm playing other stuff.
But yeah, it's kind of like DJing, but I dig what you're saying. It is a little different because you launch your clips, but then there's a lot of original music in there too. And,
and I think I try to create a set that's more like a long song than just like, you know, like when you listen to it, I like when transitions are very, very hard to find. You know? Like suddenly you're listening to a new song and you don't know how you got there.
Yeah. Well, what kind of advice would you give to young beat makers and stuff coming up?
The main thing is that I hope that you know, people try to stay true to themselves and not give into trends, because, you know, I mean, I say the same thing every time, but basically there's so much pressure to sound like just this one guy, or like pressure to sound like DJ Mustard, you know?
Right.
You don't need to like base things off that, you know? You make your own original sound, and soon everyone will want to sound like you, because you're going to make that new sound.
Yeah, no doubt.
By being the unique one.
Yeah. You know what I find with that too is that when people get more into being original, they'll find that the creativity elevates.
Exactly.
Because, you know, you can try to create like so and so, but it'll never quite hit that mark that you're looking for. When you start kind of being more yourself, it really flourishes.
Exactly. And you know, no one needs another like producer that sounds like someone who already exists, you know? You want people to hear your music and go like, I know that's you that made that, versus like, oh, this sounds like, like, I don't know, someone else made it. Well, it's you, but you tried so hard to sound like him, that's all you achieved, you know? And in music and in the beat world, I feel like there can be a lot of criticism towards like, oh, I don't really understand your music, or like, I don't really get it. It's hard to hear, especially when you hear how beautiful, you know, your creation is, but just ignore other people, just keep making whatever weird stuff, because sooner or later it won't be weird.
Yeah, no doubt. And the last question I got here is for your future projects. What you're working on right now?
So I'm working on like an independent release, so I'm really excited about it. As in, like, I'm just releasing it myself.
Okay.
Cool. I'm really excited. It'll be an EP. I'm not really sure when I'm planning to release it, but since it's on my own schedule, whenever I want.
Right. That's what's cool about being indie, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that'll be cool.
We'll look out for it then.
All right, cool.
I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks.